So welcome, party peoples. I first want to say that this video should be posted sometime while I'm at the US Go Congress. And I guess I'm a little bit sad because you're not all there with me. Instead, you're home watching this video. So teardrops, people, teardrops. But, for those of you who couldn't make it to the Congress, I definitely wanted to, continue improving your Go knowledge. And at the same time, I've had a lot of Q players write me fairly recently. Pretty, high double-digit Q players, like 15 to 20 Q. And so I thought I would try to dial a couple of videos back a little bit and go over like some more patterns that often, other players will take for granted. And so I'm gonna try to go over two. I won't say they're complicated Joseki, but they're pretty thick Joseki that everyone knows, but double-digit Q players definitely don't. And actually, we'll probably do more than, I think I just said 2 Joseki, and that's probably a complete lie, because we're going to see some other variations. But anyway, that's the goal here. And specifically, I want to highlight these 2 Joseki because it is, I think, a really good introduction to studying the direction of play, and what does that mean, and what does that actually do for you on the Go board. So hopefully every double-digit Q player has seen this move, and every double-digit Q player has seen this move. So these 2 moves, hopefully, not surprising. These are surprising. Go watch another Go channel. I mean, I'm not saying this in a derogatory sense or to put anyone down. I'm just saying that there's other Go channels that go up to that next level of introductory material. Anyway, the move that I want to show in this video is this one. And if you're a Don level player or high single digit Q player, and you know all about this, you could probably just skip this video and go to the US Go Congress. You don't need any more of this stuff. Although actually, maybe I'll show you a variation or 2 that you don't know. So maybe you should keep watching. But the basic idea of this is to, number 1, put pressure on this stone. And notice we're actually using our cornerstone not to take territory directly, but to attack. And so it's through attacking that we're going to get profit. And this is like the basic goal of middle game Go, except in this case it's early game Joseki. But yeah, you want to attack and gain something by harassing your opponent's stones. This is very, very common. And white has a few options. Actually, one option is this a Tanuki. White can actually just play anywhere else. So let's put a stone down there. White can jump out. White can actually try to counterattack your cornerstone with either of these moves. It's called a counter pincer. White can actually lean against this stone. There are moves like over here and over here that sort of counterattack this stone as well, though they're less common. White can just immediately live on this side with this type of move. But, of course, the most common response for white, we'll change our shape here, that we're going to spend most of this video talking about is this move, is when white just leaps in the corner and seeks an exchange. And let's just play it on the board so you can see what it looks like. So this is the most common response to when black counter pincers. And again, if you're a double-digit Q player, this seems stupid and completely crazy. Because look, we're under attack, right? We have a white stone that's being surrounded by 2 black stones. Oh my god, get us out of here, do something. And it seems like we're just ignoring that fact and just going to try to invade the corner. And you'd be exactly right. Like, it is kind of crazy. In a sense, it actually invites black to eat this stone while we take some profit ourselves. So from this point, there's really only 2 variations that get played 95+% of the time. They're here and here. And these are both blocking style moves, right? Just extending and blocking. And these are, when I said the introduction to direction of play, this is the specific point in this Joseki sequence that I was referring to. When you're attacking white and white decides to just take the corner, what's the next direction to develop? Do we want to build a wall this way on the Go board? Or do we want to build a wall this way on the Go board? And this one move, right, this very next move, will change the entire shape of the rest of the game, right? There's no similar game, right? If black plays here versus when black plays here, there's no similar game that can erupt out of this, right? We're gonna play in one universe if we play this move. We're gonna play an entirely different universe if we play this move, and they're just different universes, because the direction that black gets influence basically affects every other stone on the board, and that's the beauty of Go, right? So if you've never seen this before, I just want you to just feel for yourself, like almost like spiritually, right? That this makes an entirely different timeline, right, than this, right? When we make a wall here, right? These are entirely different games. And so the choice is Black's, right? Black can play either of these moves and change his or her destiny forever in this game. It's really profound. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just having a moment. Maybe I just need to calm down and drink my tea. While we all ponder the mysteries of the universe. But we must choose a path. There are games where, of course, Black Tanuki's here and goes and tries to do something else important. But again, like I said, 95+% of the time, these are the two moves that are possible. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick synopsis. Oh, I wish I had my marker tool. I want to draw things. Can I type things? I can type things. All right, so let's actually label these. I'm going to take notes for you guys because that's how good of a teacher I am. So we have the A variation, the A universe, and we have the B universe. Right, so A says we're interested in top wall. That's first and foremost. And I'm also going to write Gote, which means that white will come out with the next move if we play this Joseki. All right, and B, what we expect to get is side wall, right? Wall down the side, influence down the side. So we're going to develop this part of the board, make this another way to think about walls or influence is you're making part of the board more valuable for both players, but often it's more easy to see that it's more valuable for yourself, and we'll see why that is as we play out these Josekis. And if you take the B variation, we expect to get Sente. Now, there's other variations that can throw these things off. Like I said, there's always special case Joseki and ways to get off of Joseki that will throw these things into chaos. But this is the basic summary of what we'd expect to get, right? The A move is Gote when we want the top wall. We take the B move, we get Sente. Now, that being said, the two walls end up looking very different. So let's play the most basic of these Joseki. And I'm actually going to start with the A variation. And, well, we'll just play it out, and you'll see why. So Black's going to block this way. Black is basically inviting white to link up the two stones, which white does. Now, this is a common shape point that most double-digit cube players don't value highly enough. Basically, when you have two groups that are touching, and there's this, peep in order to make eye space or push through and cut, like this is really, really super-duper important shape point. And the most common response for white, the most peaceful response, now white really has 4 good options here, maybe 5 if you're really aggressive, is to play here. And after white does this, black gets to play a move like this. Sometimes black plays here. This is also possible. But this is the most standard in an empty board situation. This is the one you would tend to play. You can sort of see that black has made a pretty nice wall here. Yeah, there's some cuts, but black can't cut here directly. There's just a ladder into oblivion. There are cuts like this that sort of throw out a ladder this way, but this can get dangerous for everyone. But basically, if there is any sort of cut or ladder here, black can fight. Black is strong enough to fight. But I want you to notice, again, whose move is it? Remember we said A was Gote for black, meaning that white will come out with the next move. And if you look at underneath the pointer of my mouse, you'll see white has the next move. You also see that white, this corner shape is actually completely alive. There's nothing black can do to kill it immediately. Black essentially needs a couple moves in a row, needs to seal off this side and play another descent in order to have moves available to kill it. So this corner shape's alive for white, so white is done playing in the corner, and white can use that Sente to effectively reduce the potential of this wall. And especially if you can imagine, let's put some other stones on the board. Let's say, actually let's not do that. Let's just put out some cornerstones. Sure. You can see that black is making a really big box over here, right? And boxes are the most efficient way to take large territory. They build a lot of territory very fast. By boxes, I mean, literally like, you can see this giant rectangle shape. Again, the more square it is, the more efficient it is. But since white has the next move, white can invade in here. And black has a really hard time killing this stone. There's just a lot of space for white to go in. Black can attack it pretty severely, but the problem is when black attacks this way, it looks like white will just sort of jump out and make some sort of a base. Black did profit. Black will get a few points here and some points here, but it's nowhere near the giant-sized box. you say, hey, let's attack it this way. Well, that's cool. In this case, white will probably jump out first, but white could theoretically play here first. And in doing so, well, here, again, black can still continue the attack. I kind of want to jump out first and see what black does. But anyway, white will either make some sort of a base or run out. And as white gets stronger, this push-cut sequence starts to get a little more dangerous for black as white gets strength in this area. So, the downside of playing this wall is we don't get Sente, but we don't care if, let's go back to our fictional game here. Let's say black already has a stone here. So let's play a little bit of a game out. Let's say black, white, black, white. Again, this should be a pretty simple, common style opening that you've seen before. White plays here. Black pincers. White goes in the corner. Again, this is a game that's been played hundreds, if not thousands, of times, even on the professional level. We play out the same Joseki. And now you can see the entire difference. We have a stone here that's facing the wall. It's very difficult now for white to make a safe base over here on the side of the board. And we're actually making quite a large box of influence. Meanwhile, we just gave white 8 points. So this would be very nice development for black. Very nice. But this has been played many, many times. You can actually go and search on the WoW Theory database and find a large number of pro games that have gone this way. All right, so here, I guess we'll just start with this fictionalized setup again. Let's give black one more move, just so we'll keep black as the one who's playing. Let's play out, whoops, bad order. Let's play this. Okay, and so white plays here, and black plays this again. All right, so from what you've learned so far, right, you can sort of imagine that pattern where white takes the corner and build a wall here. And we would like that since we have these outside influence stones, except that our space is too open. So we don't really have that as a good choice. So when white plays here, blocking this way is actually bad direction. Even though it works with all of our stones, it has to do with that Gote Sente thing. And so in this case, we're almost always forced to block this way. And this Joseki looks something like this. White is going to give up this stone and just crawl to take the corner. The most common move here for black is here. This is usually considered an overplay, and this is usually a special case. It's possible. You can actually play this, but it gives white a lot of freedom to move over here. But here, we'll do the normal variation first, and if I can remember 5 minutes into the future, we'll come back and I'll show you some of those other variations and how you can punish them. Black extends. White now has to use this stone, and we'll give it up with style by playing this Hane. Black blocks. White plays here. Black connects, and white jumps. And this is very common. 1, 2, 3, jump. Right. This is a shape we see a lot in a lot of Joseki. And notice, again, white has a corner. You can't cut this stone off. There's no cut here. Whoops, actually, except if I play it correctly, there's no cut here because these two stones don't have enough liberties. So white's safe in the corner. Black does have a wall here. It's not as grand looking of a wall as in the previous variations of Joseki when we block the other way. But black does come away with Sente, and almost always black will play a move like this that will start to actually build this side area since we have this little bit of a wall. Now this wall is pretty weak. There is a lot of Aji. For instance, later on white can play a move like this, which will sort of threaten to connect up and take away our points. But there are a number of responses that we can play to deal with this, to either prevent the link up or just say, you know what, if you want those points, I'm totally fine with this. I'm just going to take the outside. So anyway, this is the basic Joseki. Black gets Sente to continue developing from the wall. And without any other stones on the board, right, if we go all the way back and just play this Joseki out, white leaps in, we're pretty much committed to having to block this way. This is how the game will go. In the absence of a complete void of other moves on the board. In this case, though, black will actually probably play and just take the corner and develop nicely. So that's pretty cool. Where's my variation? Tree. Hello, tree. Okay, actually, let's go back to this, and let's look at some of those other crazy things that black can try. Black can play here. It's not usually good for black, there is actually there are some ladder situations that are very, very problematic. So the ladder does matter, but usually white just plays here in this case. And we're giving black a chance to just fix. If black just fixes, white can play this sort of variation. And if black responds again, then we just basically dilute the influence. If black wants to use that influence to try to build a moyo, or large potential box territory, white will actually have a nice result over here on the bottom side. You can see how this is developing very quickly into white as well. So that's if black is not stubborn. If black is feeling stubborn, black will block here and try to kill everything. Of course, there are problems with this move because this cut is very, very dangerous. And again, if you're watching this video and you're a high double-digit Q player, you probably don't know that in the shape where we have 3 stones in a row that are running out of liberties, especially when we're running out of liberties, the 1 space jump from the middle stone is the key point. And this white stone is in this perfect point to actually harass these 3 stones. I mean, it looks nice just because it's very aesthetically pleasing, right? Have 3 stones being attacked by 1 stone in the middle. 1 against the many, I guess, or something. But actually, this white stone is really, really hard for black to deal with. Because if we just start a capturing race, white will actually win first, essentially, because we have moves like this that basically give white eyes. I mean, black can't just play simple moves. And if black tries to link up, white has this really cool wedge here, because black can't Atari, because that's self-Atari. And if black Atari's this way, that's Atari. And then white can Atari, and then white can Atari, and dead. So this 1 stone right here is on the super key point. If black tries to get out using some sort of very crude sequence like this, well, then white just comes out as well by eating this stone. And this is actually, white gets an even bigger corner with even more outside influence, and there's still Aji here. This is a very good result for white. So we don't usually see this move, unless white is going to come back and block, or black is going to come back and block and do something special. The other move black can consider, and this is actually quite playable, though it's very rarely seen, and I think you'll see why, but again, you know, I've actually seen it in Q games a couple times fairly recently over the last couple months, and not sure why they're playing it, because I definitely didn't teach it to them. But black can actually Hane this side. In this case, white can jump or extend. In this case, it's probably not very good for black to extend. Black should probably just tame the stone. But that more or less gives white Sentei to make a nice group on top, a nice strong group. And again, there's still Aji with this stone here. So that would be a very peaceful variation. There are some less than peaceful variations where white can Hane. But anyway, going back, I don't want to get too far from the topic at hand, right? Which is, again, this situation, which is very, very common. And that whole changing of the universe thing, do we block this way or do we block this way? All right, let's just go through review those patterns one more time. And I want to show you some other variations. So try to think for yourself before my mouse goes there, right? Let's say we're going to play this one. And again, hopefully this would be a good time if you had your own Go board next to your computer or wherever you're watching this to actually just play this variation out in like all the corners and all the reflections of angles and things. To just play this out and get this into your hands. So, and the real benefit to getting this played out, you know, 1 or 2 dozen times right now, isn't just so that you remember the pattern, but it's so that you can imagine this pattern being played out in the Go board without actually having to put any stones there, right? If you can see that shape from this position, you're going to be so much stronger of a Go player. And again, let's review this one. And 1, 2, 3, jump. There are some situations where white really wants Sentei. White can consider this one. It is kind of a little bit of a loss, but this move is actually good enough to protect the corner. And black will usually respond. It's very hard for black to Tanuki here because this Hane is so damaging. Look at this 5-stone black group now has 4 liberties. So black's shape will become quite sad, and white will just take the whole outside with something like this. Or worse. Actually, there's some other more dangerous variations. Okay, so one more time for this variation, then we'll show you some other things. And there you are. All right, drink a cup of tea. Let's go back a few moves. All right, let's go back to this situation. Except let's give black Sente and have him take that move again. And white comes here. Black pincers. White jumps in. We've actually done this variation before. This is again, this is a Joseki. Like, this is actually Fuseki almost, where it's been played so many times that it's considered fairly standard. Black plays here. Now I want to show you some other options for white. I actually said I think there were 4 normal moves, maybe 5 if you're a really aggressive player in this case. But I just want to focus on the 4. The first one you should already know. Number 2, number 3, number 4. And the thing that all these moves kind of have in common is that they're all various ways of protecting the weakness here at the 2 point. Because black actually has this push-cut kind of sequence to find Aji later. And so all these moves will protect it in their own way, with their own little variation. Of course, one protects it very directly because if black pushes, now there's nothing for black to cut, since this S14 stone just lets us link up. The 2 move also just directly protects this cut because, hey, there is no cut now. All of our stones are linked. In this case, in this 2 variation, black will usually just play here. And white can Tanuki here. Like, this is a way for white to just take Sente immediately and make sure there's no cut from the Aji. Although we'll often see this in combination with a ladder. White needs to have a ladder here. I guess white doesn't need to have a ladder because it's Sente, but it gives us some more options. Assuming that the new ladder is neutral or what have you, white can actually play this variation. This is Joseki. Black's next moves to usually attack this somehow, though how he attacks it probably depends on the rest of the stones in the neighborhood. I think in this type of situation, this would be fairly normal, and some sort of running fight would happen from here. Although there are exchanges black can make, like black can make this exchange first if he wants, etc., etc. But again, the basic idea, when you connect here, white is looking for a fight a little bit more. This is the reason why you play this. You're going to fix your defect immediately. Your corner is going to be a little bit weaker, but it'll make sure that you're exposing the cut a little bit more harder than the normal variation. 3, this is probably the most confusing variation for most players. Not because it's a hard variation. I'll show you the most standard line, but because what white gets versus what black gets doesn't seem to be intuitive. Because it looks like white's going to come out here and maybe possibly even give up these 2 stones, and white builds a wall here and takes this, or white's just going to counterattack this stone. Neither of which of these are true, usually, in this variation. Oh, sorry. Actually, that's a bad move. Usually black plays here and asks, can I just eat the entire corner? Because if white connects, black just eats the entire corner in good style. And this is possible, though it's very rare early game. Like this would be like a later game exchange that you might see. If this Joseki gets played out later and white can make enough profit here that he's not worried about this huge loss of all the cornerstones. But usually we see white capture the stone. Black has to use that Aji. And this move is kind of a trap. This move looks like it's really good. And I actually played this. I had another stone over here, so I thought I could play this against a professional. I was playing as Janice Kim, who's a 3-dan Korean-American professional. And I thought I could fight here. And it turns out I totally can't, and she just killed me. But normally, even if you don't have another stone here, this is... especially because black doesn't have another stone here, this will end up looking just fine for white. Because the corner is completely solid and taken care of. There's actually a lot of invasion Aji, even though it looks like black is super solid, because this corner is so safe at the moment, and these 3 stones are going to be able to lean on this black group over here, something like this. This white group is actually more or less safe for the time being, and we have invasion points that are very difficult for black to deal with. Any of these, right, are all potential weaknesses for black later on. And so this black territory is actually very, very small. And, you know, depending on if black can find some momentum somewhere to attack us in the middle, our middle group will actually provide us with some central influence. The points over here are basically canceled out by these over here. So, you know, it's a game, like it's playable. But it's very dangerous for black because of all these potential weaknesses later. So anyway, instead of black moving this out and getting counterattacked over here, the normal move white takes is for black to play here. And the other reason why we usually see black play this one is because when black, it goes all the way, whoa, don't save this game. When we go all the way back to here, black blocked this way because black wants the central influence, right? Black has a stone here and a stone here. So central influence is really, really good for black. So in this Joseki, check this out. When black plays here, black's actually going to get all that central influence right back, going to get his original goal. Because in this case, black now has, or white has to capture the black stone. Black gets a free Atari. White should basically never play this move. This would be a bad exchange to respond to this, because it looks like white is responding to the Atari and provoking defects in the black shape, but it gives black another free Atari, and then black can just fix the shape in pretty good style. This would be, I mean, just look how sealed in white is. Yes, there are cuts, but they're very hard to make use of without more support. So white just usually takes. This move for black, I see it sometimes. It's pretty optional though. Usually black will just make shape here. And now again, black has a wall here, a nice looking outward influence. White does have a very solid corner group. And white also has sente, so it's exactly like that thing that I said earlier on. Right, when we block this way, we get a wall on the side and sente. When we block this way, we get a wall facing the top, middle, and gote. And so in the end, it actually ends up being very, very similar to our original simple variation. And yeah, if you're playing Go and you're a high double-digit Q player, I'm going to encourage you to just play the simple variation. All right, one last variation. I think this will be the last variation for this video, and how to choose the direction of these Josekis, is for white to play this 4 move right here. And this is one of my favorite moves to play in handicap games, because it just, I'm always white in the handicap games unless I'm playing against a pro or someone really, really strong. And for the Q players who I'm giving the handicap stones to, it just freaks them out. They just don't know what to do. Because a lot of them know that there is a weakness here at 2, right? So if they know they can push and cut. Except in the difference here is that in this case, black can actually just connect here, and there's nothing that this stone can do, right? There is no real cut here because of this extra liberty. Whereas in this variation, when black cuts here, white doesn't have time to connect over here, right? Because these 3 stones lose the capturing race. So the first thing this does is another way to actually indirectly prevent this cut shape from happening. The second thing it does, the psychological effect that really freaks everyone out is, oh my god, I was turning this into territory, and now you're undercutting me, and now I have no territory. And so they're just freaked out, because it looks like white's going to take away all their territory. So a common mistake that gets made, especially in handicap games, that I take advantage of over and over and over again, is black will play here and just try to defend the territory immediately. And this is actually quite a poor move, because not only will it allow white to now split the 2 basically black entities in this corner, my cut's already defended, and black's immediately drawn into some sort of fight here that black doesn't really want to get into. Again, if you're playing against a pretty strong, Q player, they will know that they can cut here and they can fight this just fine. But it's still a fight. In a handicap game, I'm perfectly happy starting a giant fight on move 19, right? That's all I'm saying. Usually. But what should happen when white plays here, black should most likely take the sente move in most cases. The most peaceful way for white to continue now is here, although white can continue here. The problem with this is it actually leaves a larger defect in white shape as well for black to take advantage of, so it's not necessarily a great idea. But it's also possible. And then if white responds here, now black can choose to either block here if black just really wants the points, or usually what's even better is to actually just fix this cut shape here and really develop the middle and not be worried or concerned if white jumps in here. Like if white just wants to eat all these points, you just say, that's great. I'm just going to build central influence. You're taking 1 point with each of your moves. I'm, getting at least that on the middle, plus going to control the entire middle game. And so, yeah, when you start playing these very endgame looking moves against Q players, they freak the hell out and they don't know what to do, and they just, I don't know, they overcommit to territory. And it's great. It feels great to beat Q players in handicap games. It's just nice, just smack them down. It's like crushing a little bug. It's great. Are there any other variations here? Yeah, I guess there's, if we look at this one a little bit more, white can play something like this, but again, it looks very similar. It basically depends on whether or not white wants to fight here. Of course, the danger of this cut is that this move is also sente. And I think in this case, actually, I think it's more proper. Is it? If you need the liberty, I guess you can play here. But white can also defend here, which basically completely makes the corner safe, even though this move looks really weird. And now it's just a fight over this cutting stone, which looks like it should be a pretty good fight for black normally. But again, it's kind of a handicap Joseki. I mean, like this is Joseki enough that it'll get played in a normal game, but it is more rare in those situations. So anyway, I hope this video was enlightening. If you were a stronger Q player and you learned nothing, good for you, congratulations. And go watch some other videos on something more complicated. Again, this video is really aimed at those 10 to 15 Q players, or even up to 20 Q, who've never really studied a Joseki before. And, a pattern like this is just completely outside of their wheelhouse, outside of their knowledge base, and just getting a feeling for what this should look like. So, what I definitely encourage you guys to do is, again, practice these patterns, and then just try playing them in your own games, especially if you have never seen the pattern before. Just practice this pattern, 12, 20 times, and again, it's not a hard pattern to get into, right? Because all you have to do is play 4/4 stones, let your opponent approach you normally and pincer them, or, when your opponent plays a 4/4 stone, just approach them. You can play it from both black and white, and just jump in the corner. And that'll force your opponent into either choosing a direction immediately, which they may screw up, and I've seen double-digit Q players screw up constantly. And, that's just how it goes, because not every Go player knows everything, it turns out. Or, again, if you're the person with the 4/4 stone, it'll give you a nice little Go problem. Which direction do I need to block here? And you can remember, take the top and gote, or take the side and sente, in this case at least. That doesn't always work, of course, if I change the orientation of the stones, right? Because now we have take the top in sente and take the side in gote. But you get the idea. Do practice these different directions and rotations. All right, so thanks for watching. Again, I'm sorry you guys can't be at the US Go Congress, but I'm pretty sure I'm having a good time there, so you should, be a little jealous and be a little happy for me. So see you guys later. Thanks.